Okay, so I have my box that I've made. It's all put together. It's in a cube. I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna clean up the edges using a metal rib, making sure that everything is nice and smooth. This box is about leather hard, maybe a little bit softer. We want it to stay pretty soft from this point. From here, I'll talk about cutting off the lid and getting it put on. I will be talking about cutting off a flat lid and adding pieces in. If you are cutting off a lid that doesn't need anything else, so a lid that has shape that will lock it into place, then I will have that in another video for you that you'll be able to watch. This one though, I'm taking, my sides are about finished, 2 sides left, making sure that those edges are smooth, and it's going to leave a little bit of a jagged edge on there. If I leave that for now, or I can just take and kind of brush that off. And my last side. And I don't want to change the shape of my box too much at this point. I'm just kind of going through making sure that it's smooth, these edges are nice and straight, those seams are sealed. Now I'm going to take that I've taken and smoothed off those edges. I had my template. Well, mine wasn't like this, but these are the ones you used. I took and I actually cut it down, so I made my template that I'm using a little bit shorter. As I take this template and make it a little bit shorter, if I set my box on the side that I'm going to cut off, this is going to give me a nice straight line that I'm going to take and cut off. So I'm going to take from here, and I'm just going to trace gently with my fettling knife, making sure that that line is nice and straight. And I'm not cutting all the way through at this point, I'm just tracing. I'm going to make sure that my edge lines up. So over here, I'm lining it up with that first line that I drew. If those edges don't line up, then you'll have a hard time getting your box all the way together. The third one, getting those lines lined up, and then hopefully on the fourth one, if you've been cautious, both of your lines will line up pretty evenly. So if I take this, and I have both of those lines, and they're pretty close, I have to adjust just a tiny bit. Okay, so now I have those lines traced around it. I'm going to take and actually press and cut. And when I cut, I want to make sure my knife is going straight up and down. And then as soon as it presses all the way through that narrow part, it's going to cut relatively easily. I'm going to leave it in place at the corner, so it's held in place, and I'm just going to transition that cut around so that I get a nice continuation of my lid line. So same thing, pressing into that corner, transitioning it up around, should make it so it cuts through pretty even, and then I'm pulling that line back towards me. And as I get towards this last one, I'm going to want to be cautious. My lid's starting to come off, so I'm going to hold it. So I'm working with both hands at this point. I'm going to transition that up, and then I'm going to take and pull and cut this line along. And this is my last corner. So my last corner, I just pressed through actually. I would have liked to have gone a little bit slower. As I take that off, I can lift this off and see, okay, there's my lid, it's cut off. You'll see that this side I had coils in already. On my bottom side in here, if you can see, it's a little dark. There's no coils, so I would go back in and I'm going to add coils into that bottom part. From the bottom part and my coils, I also will need to take and remember which side I cut this off of, so I'm going to check and see which way it fits best. Looks like right there. I'm going to make a quick little registration mark on this as well, so I'm just going to take and draw a line up it, and I have a little registration mark that I can get rid of and adjust as I need to. These edges that are cut also are gonna kind of buckle in. My clay maybe is a little bit softer than it should be, so I'm not gonna try and change too much, but I am gonna kind of soften that edge so it's not quite as jagged. And then repress these and make sure that everything is connected really well. Check my registration, make sure that my lid still fits with where I've lined up my registration mark. Still does. Get some coils and get moving on to the next part. So as I go through, I'm going to add a coil into that bottom. So making sure your clay is really soft at this point is going to be really important. So before you get here, if you haven't already, it's a good idea to keep your extra clay wet, covered up in your bag nice and tight, so that as you get here, you can roll out a nice coil, come in, and press this into place. And I'm going to take and run just this single long coil all the way around. What I don't want to do is just leave it kind of boxy on that inside. So just like the first set of coil, I'm going to take my finger and compress them in, smooth it out so that it's a hidden seam, so I don't see any of that. From here, after I've taken and compressed this.
Good morning, Bobcats. It's time for morning announcements. Please do the pledge.
My next step is to make a couple of coils. Okay, moving on to the next part, I need to set in some coils onto the top of my lid so that it'll stay in place. So I'm just going to take what extra clay I have and I'm going to roll it out. A coil works, a slab also works. I like the flexibility of a coil. We can take, I'm still going to pat this out so it'll kind of end up looking like a slab. So I'm just going to take and give it a little set. And then I can take and pat this out. Now I'm taking this and I'm just going to cut as straight of a line as I can. So I take and cut this straight line. That's the part that's going to come down from the bottom of the lid. Now I'm going to take, I need to score and slip this. So I'm scoring, slipping. A little bit of water. Score again. I'm going to take and score this edge of my coil. Will you walk out and have everybody come in really quietly so I can finish this video? Thanks, Trenton. Water again. It's nice and roughed up. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to set this in onto interior. It's going to sit up above the top of my lid, so I'll twist that and show you in just a moment. And when I get to that edge, I'm going to take and cut and compress that in. Now I need to take and set this in. And I'm going to seal it right around that edge. So this is creating a flange The flange is going to help this sit into place. If you're talking, if you'll just get started on your starter, keep your voices off, please. Just for the first couple minutes. Thank you. So I'm going to seal this flange. There's up front. Check on this table. Yes. If you're coming in, please turn your voice off. Right now, I need your voices off. You're working on your starter, getting started. Okay, so I have this flange. It's sitting up above. Right now, it's not all the same height. I'm going to go back through and adjust that. I have my registration mark that's here. I'd line it up with my side and check. It might not fit that first time, or it might fit. If it doesn't fit, then I need to just take and press these in a touch. So as we have a soft coil, it makes it so we can adjust the shape of those relatively easily. So I'm going to press that in, check and see if it fits this second time. Ooh, I gotta find my registration. And it's not quite there, so I'd still adjust. If I press down, move it in again, and adapt that shape until it fits. And then I would take and keep this box covered up, come back to it after we're ready to start getting our slip put on it.